Walk into the life of someone genuinely wealthy, and the strange thing is what's missing. Often there's no supercar in the driveway, no wall of logos, no flash at all. And that confuses people, because we were taught that rich looks like stuff. But here's the rule almost nobody hands you. The wealthy spend their money on something you literally cannot photograph. They buy time, they buy freedom. And the rest of us were quietly trained to buy the thing that eats both. Same paycheck, opposite direction. Let me show you the rule they live by and how you start using it this month. Here's where we're going. This is episode 5 of the Rich Rulebook. And today's rule is simple to say and hard to unlearn. The rich buy time, the poor buy stuff. I'll open the book to this exact page, then walk you through 6 line items. 1. Assets buy your time, consumer goods eat it. 2. The status trap, where the visible luxury is often rented and the real wealth is invisible. 3. Buying your hours back, literally. 4. The depreciation direction, because stuff falls and assets climb. 5. The honest catch, because enjoying money is the whole point. And 6. Freedom as the real luxury good and the exact number that buys it. Let's open the rule book. So let's open the book to this rule, because it's the one that reframes every purchase you'll ever make. Written out, it reads, money can be spent in 2 directions. You can spend it on things that give you more time or on things that take your time away. That's it. That's the whole rule. The wealthy aren't smarter shoppers than you, and they're not more disciplined by nature. They were simply handed this one sentence early, treated it as obvious, and spent decades pointing their dollars in one direction while most of us pointed ours in the other. Once you see the 2 directions, you can't unsee them. Every price tag starts to carry a second hidden label underneath it. This one gives you hours or this one takes them. And the wealthy read that hidden label first every single time before they read the number on the front. And here's why nobody ever told you this. The stuff that eats your time is loud. It's designed to be seen, photographed, envied, and financed. The thing that buys your time is quiet. It sits in an account or a small business or a paid-off house, doing nothing visible at all. So the entire world you scroll through is a highlight reel of the loud kind of spending, and the quiet kind is invisible by design. You end up copying a version of wealth that wealthy people often left behind years ago. This rule doesn't make you angry at anyone. It just hands you the sentence they were given, so your money can finally start pointing the same way theirs does. Line item 1, and this is the engine under the whole rule. An asset is anything that pays you. A liability is anything you pay for. And the quiet magic of an asset is that it works while you sleep. You buy a slice of a boring index fund, a rental, a small ownership stake in something, and from that moment on, it earns in the background whether you're awake, on vacation, or doing absolutely nothing. It's buying you time. Because every dollar it throws off is a dollar you didn't have to trade an hour of your life for. Now flip it. A consumer good does the exact opposite. You buy the shiny thing, and from that moment on, you're working to pay it off, insure it, store it, maintain it, and eventually replace it. It doesn't earn a cent. It just quietly bills you, month after month, in money and in the hours you burn to cover it. So picture a 2-pan scale. On one side, assets, pouring hours back into your life. On the other stuff, draining hours out. Most people spend their whole career loading up the draining side and wondering why they never feel free. The wealthy spend it loading the other side. Here's the part that should feel empowering rather than harsh. It's the same paycheck. The person earning $50,000 who points a slice at assets is building a machine that buys time. The person earning $200,000 who points all of it at stuff is building a machine that demands more time every year. It was never really about the size of the income. It's about which direction the money points the second it lands. Line item 2, and this one stings a little, so I'll say it gently. Most of the luxury you see is rented, and most of the real wealth you'll never see at all. That designer look, the leased car with the badge, the watch on the payment plan, the apartment stretched to the last dollar of the budget, a huge amount of the visible high life is financed. It's a costume. It's paid for with debt and with future hours, by people who are often no wealthier than you and sometimes considerably less. This is exactly the trap our sister series, Normal is Broke, pulls apart in detail. Normal American life quietly runs on looking richer than you are, and the looking is what keeps you broke. But here, we're standing on the other side of the same coin. Because if visible luxury is often a costume, then real wealth has to be the opposite. It's invisible. It's the money that isn't spent, the account nobody sees, the paid-off car that looks boring in the driveway, the modest house owned outright while the neighbor rents a bigger image. The genuinely wealthy person often looks understated on purpose, because every dollar they didn't spend on the costume is a dollar out buying time. And here's the freeing part. Once you understand that the flash is frequently rented, the pressure to compete with it just evaporates. You stop racing people who are secretly losing the race. You stop financing an audience that isn't watching as closely as you think. The rich weren't handed better taste. They were handed permission to be invisible, and invisibility, it turns out, is cheap and it compounds. Line item 3 takes the rule and makes it literal, because the wealthy don't just buy time through assets, they buy it straight off the shelf. Think about how your week actually works. You have hours that are high value, the ones where you earn, create, rest, or spend time with people you love, and you have hours that are pure low-value drag, the tasks anyone could do that just have to get done. Most of us treat all our hours as equally cheap, so we hand over the good ones and grind through the bad ones ourselves. The wealthy do something that feels almost obvious once you see it. They pay to delete the low-value hours and keep the high-value ones. They'll pay someone to handle the chore that drains a Saturday, then spend that reclaimed Saturday on the work or the rest that actually moves their life forward. Now, before this sounds like advice only a rich person can use, notice the principle underneath it, because the principle scales all the way down. It's not really about hiring staff. It's about asking one question before you spend. Is this purchase buying me time or costing me time? Paying a little to remove a genuinely draining task, and then reinvesting those reclaimed hours into something that grows. Learning a skill, building a side income, resting so you don't burn out. That's the same move the wealthy make, just at your scale. The trap is buying time back and then spending it on nothing. The move is buying it back and pointing it at something that pays you later. A reclaimed hour that goes straight into scrolling was just a purchase like any other, gone. A reclaimed hour that goes into building is a seed. Time is the one thing you can't manufacture more of, so the wealthy treat it as the most expensive thing they own, and they arrange their money to protect it. You can start doing that with a single reclaimed hour this week. Line item 4 is the one that quietly decides who's rich in 20 years, and it's just a matter of direction. Everything you buy is moving. It's either drifting down in value or climbing up, and almost nothing sits still. Stuff drifts down. That's what stuff does. The car loses a chunk of its value the moment you drive it off the lot and keeps sliding every year after. The gadget is worth less the day the next one launches. The furniture, the clothes, the toys, all of it is on a slow escalator heading down toward zero. You paid full price for something whose entire nature is to become worth less. Assets do the opposite. A broad basket of stocks, over the long run, has historically climbed at roughly 7% a year on average. And I'll be honest that this is a long-term historical average, not a promise, and not every year. A well-chosen piece of property tends to rise over decades. Ownership in a productive business grows as the business grows. These things are on the up escalator. So picture two people with the exact same $10,000. One points it at stuff, and in 10 years they have a garage of things worth a fraction of what they paid and nothing to show but the memory of buying them. The other points it at assets, and in 10 years that money has quietly grown, and it's still working, still earning, still buying time. Same starting money, opposite escalators. This is the whole game, and it's why the wealthy can look weirdly unbothered about the flashy purchases everyone else is chasing. They know the flashy thing is on the down escalator, and they'd rather own the up one. You don't need a bigger paycheck to make this switch. You need to notice before you buy which direction the thing is already heading. Line item 5, and this is the honest catch, because if I stopped here, you'd think the rule is just deprivation. And it absolutely is not. Enjoying your money is the entire point. Wealth that never buys a single good day is just a high score you die next to. The rich are not monks. They spend on beautiful things, incredible trips, comfort, and joy, and so should you. The rule was, never don't spend. The rule is spend on purpose. So here's the version that keeps you sane and still keeps you rich. Buy the one thing you genuinely love, the specific thing that lights you up, and buy it in cash, fully owned, no image attached. What you don't do is finance a whole identity. There's a world of difference between the person who saves up and buys one beautiful watch because they truly love watches, and the person who leases the car, the wardrobe, the apartment, and the vacation all at once to broadcast a lifestyle they can't actually afford. The first person bought a joy. The second person bought an audience, on credit, and the audience isn't even paying attention. So spend lavishly on the few things you love and cut hard on the things you're only buying to be seen. That single distinction is how the wealthy enjoy their money without it enjoying them. And notice, this makes the rule easier, not harder. You're not banning pleasure. You're aiming it. One thing you love, owned outright, beats 10 things you're renting to impress people who are busy renting their own. Deprivation was never the assignment. Direction was. Line item 6, the real luxury good, the one everything else has been pointing at. The rich aren't ultimately buying assets, or time, or quiet. They're buying freedom, and freedom is the only luxury that never depreciates. Freedom is waking up and choosing what the day is for. It's saying no to work you hate, walking away from a room you don't want to be in, taking the risk without the terror, because you don't need the next paycheck to survive. That's the thing all the quiet buying was actually purchasing the whole time. And here's the part that turns freedom from a dream into a target, because it has an actual number. The rough rule of thumb many use is this. Freedom costs about 25 times your yearly spending. Add up what 1 year of your real life costs, multiply it by 25, and that's the pile of assets that, invested, can throw off enough to cover you roughly forever without you working. Look closely at what that number is made of. It's not 25 times your income, and it's not 25 times your neighbor's lifestyle. It's 25 times what you spend, which means every dollar of stuff you don't need does double duty. It's a dollar you can point at assets today, and it's 25 fewer dollars you'll ever need to be free. Cut your spending by $1,000 a year on things that don't matter, and you just lowered your freedom number by 25,000. That is the whole rule collapsed into arithmetic. The person buying stuff is raising their number every year, chasing a finish line that keeps running away. The person buying time is lowering theirs and funding it at the same time, walking toward a finish line that's walking toward them. And you don't need the full pile to feel it either. Every step toward that number buys a little more freedom along the way. The first month of expenses covered, the first debt gone, the first stretch where a bad week at work isn't a crisis. Freedom isn't a feeling you stumble into. It's a number, and the rule you just learned is how you shrink it. So here's the average person version, the part you can actually run this month. No trust fund required. It's one swap. Find a single recurring stuff purchase, something you buy on repeat that's quietly on the down escalator and doesn't really add to your life. The subscription you forgot you had. The upgrade you don't need. The convenience habit that's more reflex than joy. Just one. Then take that exact money and point it the other direction. Send it automatically into one thing that buys you time instead. A slice of a broad index fund, an extra payment that kills a debt faster, a small stake in something that earns, or an hour of a genuinely draining task handed off so you can build something that grows. That's it. You are not overhauling your life. You are turning one arrow around. And here's why it's more powerful than it looks. You didn't just move some money. You changed the direction it points, and direction compounds. One swap becomes a habit, the habit becomes your default, and your default is the entire difference between the person whose money demands more hours every year and the person whose money quietly hands hours back. The wealthy didn't start with 100 swaps. They started with the sentence, and then they made the first one. You now have the sentence. Make the first swap this month, and let the rule book do the rest. So tell me in the comments, time or stuff, where does your money actually go right now, honestly? Drop it below because I read them, and the swap gets real the moment you say it out loud. Remember, this is education, not financial advice, just the page of the rule book nobody handed you. Next time we open the book to Rule 6, and it's the one that explains why the wealthy look so fearless. They fail in private, then quietly try again on a foundation you were never told to build. I'll see you on that page.